Hello, my neighborhood news friends. I'm MaryTherese. Glad to have you in the neighborhood for this Friday, May 22nd edition of Neighborhood News. Broadcasting to you live on Facebook Live just outside of Atlanta from my home here in Oxford, Georgia. We've been on this journey for 2 months now. Can you believe it? 8 weeks of Neighborhood News. And alas, this is our last show. It's not a bad thing. This is actually a good thing because it means that things are starting to get back to normal. It means that folks are, starting to go back to work, they're going outside, and I think we've served the purpose. It certainly gave me something fun to do. It brought me closer to folks all over the world. Thank you, everyone who joined our neighborhood, who contributed news, who told us what was going on in their neighborhood, because we wanted uplifting stuff, right? So thank you. We were a good team. And now that things are getting back to normal, I got to find a job. As long as Bob's working, I'd like to be working. Now that the job market's starting to open back up, let's say a little prayer for all of us that we can be gainfully employed again. I just want to say thank you for humoring me and allowing me to have an outlet, and I hope that this brought joy to many of you who are watching and contributing from all over the place. We do have a lot of really good neighborhood news to get to on this last edition of Neighborhood News, so stay with me as we go through this. I'm going to give you a little more information. Neighborhood News is not totally going away, but the broadcasts will be going away. We'll pull them out if we need to. Hope we don't, but in the future if we need to, got everything we need. Hey, I have a membership to Zoom now, okay? Got a lavalier mic, got a light kit. I mean, we're big time now. This is homemade news, you can tell, but if we need to pull it out again, we will. Neighborhood News page is going to stay up. We're going to talk about that. Right now, I want to take you to Rockford, Illinois. This was some of the most precious video I've seen in a long time. We've shown how people were trying to find a way, through the see-through curtain that they could hug, right? Because we couldn't have contact with each other. Well, this is Carly Marinaro, who put this together for her kids. Priceless video when they actually got to see Nana. Take a look.
Is she coming? Is she coming? Okay, she's coming.
Look at this little one. I think every grandma loves to hear this.
Here she is. Okay, guys, get in line.
Now watch what they do. She used PVC pipe, clear plastic, and livestock disposable clear gloves for both sides to use.
Like we saw in that video. Now how did you do that? Wait, come on, Nana.
Look at this.
Put your arms through the slats. All right. Oh my goodness.
There goes the long-awaited hug. Thank you, Carly Marinaro, for humoring all of us and making us smile, and for making your kids and your mom smile too. What an ingenious way to cope with COVID-19, which is the whole reason we've been doing this show the entire time. We want to also let you know that you can still send us your good news, right, to Gmail. It's the neighborhoodnews2020@gmail.com. I will perpetually be checking that, and we will keep things up on the Neighborhood News Facebook page. If you want to add to the Facebook page, if you want me to create a story and put it on the Facebook page, happy to do that. We will always keep that open. That'll be a nice connection we can all still have from around the world. Gardening is a really huge part of education at Copperview Elementary School. This is in Arizona. It's Sahuarita, Arizona. And every year, these students learn to grow a variety of vegetables. And they learn everything from the economic side, the business side, the science side, and the responsibility side. COVID-19 kind of put a wrench in their fundraiser because typically they would sell whatever they made. And they had a huge harvest this year of Texas sweet onions. So since they were socially distant, the class decided that they should donate these onions, and they did that very thing to the Saharita Food Bank. So they donated, get this, 585 pounds of Texas sweet onions, and they were much appreciated. And I know the kids got a little something extra out of this too. The art of loving your fellow man and making that donation. Way to go, class. What a beautiful thing that just transpired out there in Arizona. Get some really good local news. I broadcast from Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. I'm in Oxford, and I'm very close to a city called Covington. On Labor Day 2018, this is Officer Matt Cooper. He was called to the local Walmart because of a shoplifter, and when he confronted the shoplifter pulled out a gun and shot Officer Cooper in the head. I'm very proud to tell you that on Monday, Officer Cooper went back to work at the Covington Police Department. Yeah, his badge number is 148. If you live in these parts up here, you've seen 148 strong, the police symbol with 148 on the ice cream shop everywhere. I mean, Covington, Georgia, this community loves Officer Cooper and our police department. It was a long struggle for his wife and his two little kids, but he's doing very well. So congratulations, and thank you, Lord, for the life of Officer Cooper and that he is back on the beat in Covington. Time now for a little bit of random video because I just wanted to. I absolutely adore this reporter. Those are the cute dogs that we saw the other day. This, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not familiar with Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC, she is the hardest working woman in broadcasting. I just wanted you to see this. She's been broadcasting from her house, and her son, who was helping her, was not quite clear when they were ready to go live to her. So she kind of throws him over her lap, and watch this, continues with her live shot. Watch this.
Starting to reopen. And I'm not saying they're reopening to full capacity, but we're getting to that phase 2. So what do we see? Gaming names like
what an absolute pro. What a good boy for not interrupting mom. And the show goes on. I just adore this woman. I think she's a wonderful reporter and has a huge following on MSNBC and gives some really good advice too. But man, I'll tell you what, she can just roll with it. When she's live, doesn't matter, she's ready. I dig that. That's a gift, by the way. That doesn't happen all the time. As you've seen my kitties just walk into the shot here because we are homemade news. You know that. This is some homemade work from a pretty fantastic Tennessee teacher. Her 4th grade class was pretty wigged out that they were not going to have their tie-dyed pillow project completed because of COVID-19. They couldn't go to school. So this teacher said, you know what? I hear you. I've heard it through the grapevine that you're a little nervous. So she pulls out her sewing machines at home. This is Cassie Stevens in Tennessee. She is an art teacher. She sewed all the kids' pillows together. I mean, she finished them all, and she's sending them out so that they all have them, and they're so excited to get these. But just to show the effort that the teacher made to make sure that these kids don't feel like it was a wasted project and they didn't get to finish it, well, she helped them finish it, so now they're going to get these. By the way, she's got a huge following on Instagram. Pretty talented art teacher. If you want to follow her, it is Cassie Stevens on Instagram, and you will see all of the really cool things that she has that you can teach your kids even at home. Very easy peasy stuff. This is very, very special up in Pennsylvania. This is Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. It started out very small with 2 girls, and it just exploded. As you know, many things have done that during this COVID-19 process. This is called Spirit Fairies. So these 2 little girls put this together and thought, we should start delivering packages in our neighborhood just randomly to neighbors. So this young man is doing that very thing, and they are delivering things, leaving them on doorsteps, with some snacks, maybe some cider, handmade soap, homemade muffins, just to say, hey, you know what? We're here. We're thinking of you. If you need anything, here's a number. Call us. So these are the spirit fairies that have been growing like wildfire up in the Pennsylvania area. And they've been doing a fantastic job. If you look up on Facebook, Spirit Fairies, you will find that they have a Facebook page, and they're spreading this all over the country. So why not join? We're learning a lot about groups like this, through neighborhood news. I'm really proud. We've learned about heart hunters. We've learned about Let There Be Light. We've now learned about spirit fairies and so many more. Isn't it amazing how social media has brought the world together during this very bizarre time? Thank goodness we all have this connection. As you know, on this show, our hashtag from the very beginning has been spread kindness, not a virus. We want you to still continue to do that as things start to reopen. Make sure that you practice the guidelines that have been put out there, and let's see if we can keep these numbers down. It's very important that we do that. I wanted to share this because I am a fan of the royal family, and I thought this was a great story. This is Princess Eugenie. Can you believe she's all grown up? This is Duchess Sarah Ferguson's daughter with Prince Andrew, and she's been collecting donations in her area of England where she lives, in Windsor, including sweet treats and toiletries and fruits and vegetables, and she's been donating them, getting some help from her mom and her mom's husband. You can see that they have been loading up the vehicle and delivering them. Hospitals, homeless shelters, anybody that needs these. So I think it's fantastic that they are getting involved and just putting themselves out there in public to go be with the public and help them as much as they can. I think this shows that COVID-19 has an effect on everybody. It doesn't matter what your walk of life is. If you're living and breathing, you are affected by this condition. These are what they call Maine acts of kindness. And I'm speaking of Maine, the state of Maine. These are medical students. You've got a dental student. There's also this young lady here to the left is a medical student. She wants to be a cardiologist. They got together and decided that there was a population that they thought weren't being as focused on during COVID-19, and that's the homeless population. So they've been putting together COVID care kits for this area of Maine and even on down into Boston. And just simple things like, bars of soap, toothpaste, hair comb, hand sanitizers, masks and gloves. And so far, they've donated 600 kits over the last 6 weeks between where they are in Maine all the way down to Boston at homeless shelters, and they're continuing to do more. I say bravo. What a way to spend your time that you're not in class or you're not able to go help. You can do it this way. I think it's ingenious. So you're probably asking yourself, I've been checking out this neighborhood news for a couple weeks, 2 months. This, if you can see all of the red dots, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we have traveled to. This is how far our neighborhood has grown in just 8 weeks. Let me just summarize it this way. We are in 43 of the 50 states. The only states that we did not have any contributions from, and to my knowledge, no viewers from, Vermont, Delaware, Rhode Island, North Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana. Everybody else, we got stories, they made comments, they shared it, and it was very refreshing to see that. But wait, there's more. Take a look at this map of the world. We'll blow this up so you can see here. Outside of the U.S., we've got Canada, we've got South America, we've got Europe, we've got Africa, Australia, we're over in the Far East. 30 locations throughout the world. We had contributing stories from those areas, comments, prayer requests. So this is how far our neighborhood has grown, ladies and gentlemen, and you helped make that happen. So thank you, those of you who are watching. If you have just watched and never made a comment, you're still contributing. Thank you very much for doing that. Anyone who has contributed a story, you've certainly helped make this happen. And I can't thank you enough for making this fun thing to occupy my time be something that was fun to occupy your time. So, just a little behind the scenes look, by the way. Bob's cringing right now. This is what this room looks like. You're focused in on me right now, but I told you it's a homemade production. So we took the lampshade off of a lamp to create studio light. You can see that this is a side table that I use as my desk from my living room, and I have it on top of a box of paper to make it tall enough. Over here to my right, I have one of my travel suitcases propped up so that I can keep things propped on it. Just wanted to give you an idea of how hilarious it is to put this neighborhood news show together, because we are a homemade production. I mean, if the FedEx man pulls up and honks, we wave, we talk. It's what we do. The kitties are behaving themselves right now. I can't believe it, but they might walk through here too, and that's okay. Homemade show. There's my desk over in the corner, typing scripts, just to give you an idea of what it's like. It does take a lot to put on these two shows pretty much by myself for these 2 days. So yeah, it's very time consuming, and I certainly don't mind doing it because it was great fun to do and it was great to connect with everyone. But like I said, things are starting to get back to normal. So let's see where that normal takes us. Let's see if we can all find some work. That'd be great. I'll do a story on that. We're going to have one last neighborhood challenge, and I'm hoping that you're all just going to answer the call because it's very desperately needed. And I'm taking this from my hometown of Houston County, Georgia. Blood donations are so critically low because everyone's been in quarantine. So this is from the Houston Healthcare system. They are sponsoring blood drives with Central Georgia Technical College through July. So if you are in my hometown area of Houston County, please check the website. And for everybody else, the CDC is encouraging blood donations because, again, they have been at an all-time low. They do want you to practice all of the guidelines that are out there. Please don't just show up and give blood. You have to make an appointment. You have to practice social distancing. You have to wear your mask. It's very important that you do that to keep not only yourself safe, but they want to make sure that all the staff members are safe as well. For the Houston County Healthcare System, go ahead and mark your calendars. May 27th has been canceled. That was upcoming, but June 10th will be the next time that you can schedule to donate blood, and I hope that you'll do that. It's critical that we do that wherever you are in the world. Check your local chapter and see. You can check www.redcrossblood.org to find out where there is a donation site near you. Follow the instructions. Don't just show up because they may have a different process in order to do that. And thank you for doing that. I do have a public service announcement for you, our last public service announcement on this Friday, May 22nd. It is Memorial Day weekend, and I'm not going to remind you to stay safe. I'm not going to remind you to not drink and drive. I'm not going to remind you to stay socially distanced. You all know that. You know all of these things. But I want to share with you some names and some dates that you might not know that I hope you will want to remember and continue to know. It's very important that you understand why we have a Memorial Day. We have this weekend coming up. People call it the unofficial start to summer. Well, let me give you some reasons why you should probably, I hope you will, stop at 3 o'clock on Monday for a moment of silence. Here's a date for you to remember. June 27th, 2002. This is Captain Robert Lopez, and he is a pilot in the United States Air Force, and his jet crashed while he was on a training mission as we were at war in the Middle East, getting ready to go. The four folks that I'm about to introduce you to include Captain Lopez, I either know them or I know their family. That's why I'm talking about them at this moment. This is what Memorial Day means to me. I know his lovely wife, Kathleen, up at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. This is someone's son. This is someone's husband. This is someone's brother who gave their life in service to their country. That's why we have Memorial Day. Here's another date for you to remember. April 9th, 2004. This is PFC Greg Goodrich. He sat behind me in my homeroom at Warner Robins High School. And he died on April 9th, 2004 in Iraq. He was helping a contractor, an American contractor who had been kidnapped by Iraqi gunmen. You may remember the story, Escape in Iraq, the Thomas Hamill story. Highly recommend that you get this book because he talks about the bravery of Gregory Goodrich that day when he saved his life and he died in service to his country. That's why we have Memorial Day. Here's another face that I hope is very familiar to folks in the state of Georgia, but if you're not from here, you need to know who this is. This is Sergeant Rodney M. Davis. Remember this date, September the 6th, 1967. This is one of our greatest United States Marines. He saved an entire platoon of men over in Vietnam. He had just been in country a few days and was the sergeant over this platoon of men. And by the way, they were all white. This is a black young man. They were white. Why do I say this? Why is this important? This happened. He jumped on a grenade so that they could all live. And this was happening during a time when racial inequality was starting to see coverage in our news, in our national news. But this young man never saw color. He only saw brothers in arms. And here he is, a young man from Macon, Georgia, who did this and received the Medal of Honor posthumously. I did know his sweet mama. I was able to interview her many times when I was a reporter at WMAZ. I know his sister Deborah, his brothers. So I want to also encourage you, here's an incredible book that came out about a year and a half ago. This is John Hollis, who actually married Sergeant Davis's niece. So he has a family connection there. Incredible book. Rodney M. Davis, The Making of a Hero. You want to know what true heroism is? Get this book. Highly recommend you do it this weekend. It's very important to understand what was happening then because you sure can relate it to things that are happening now. And at the end of the day, when you look at it, I think you'll find it from John Hollis's book. We all bleed the same color. Hope you'll remember that this Memorial Day. And last but not least, remember this date, April 11th, 1966. This is Airman First Class William Pitzenbarger. I know his cousin, David, and his wife, Kim, in Middle Georgia. He was an Air Force pararescue man, and he was in Vietnam at the age of 22 years old, was dropped down into the jungles of Vietnam because soldiers were getting hammered. And when he was going down to try to save these soldiers, he learned, as he's hoisting some of them up, that their medic had been killed. When his crew was trying to get him back up out of the fire, he said, "No, I need to stay. They don't have a medic here." Well, guess what? Just a few months ago, this story came out, The Last Full Measure. It stars William Hurt, Ed Harris, Samuel L. Jackson, an incredible story of the life of William Pitzenbarger. Bob and I just watched it about 2 weeks ago. Absolutely incredible. You want to talk, the last full measure is when you give your life to save your fellow man. And he did this in uniform. That's why we have Memorial Day. So I would ask you all on Monday at 3 o'clock, and I researched this, by the way. Why do we do it at 3 o'clock? Well, that was something that was decided back in 2000, but an easier way for me to remember, I think for me, and I hope it is for all of you, the truest of heroes among us all really gave the ultimate sacrifice at 3 o'clock on Good Friday. Something to think about. So please remember that on Memorial Day on Monday. You know what I'm about to do? No shame here. Tomorrow we're going to have our third Spirit of America live on Facebook. And this is the book. It is Your Vote Counts. My illustrator, Michelle Graham-Fricks, and I created this to help kids understand the importance of voting. I want to make something very clear here, and I've had a couple of you reach out to me. Facebook pulled a boosted post that I made to talk about this live reading tomorrow. Facebook considered it political, said that I couldn't run it. I wrote back many times, really don't have time to argue with them, to explain that this is a child's book explaining the importance of voting and how the Electoral College works. Mox nix. We're going to do it anyway, and it's important for you to understand that what Michelle and I have been doing with this Spirit of America series, we are apolitical. We're like Switzerland, man. We got to work with everybody. And we just want kids to have an appreciation for where we came from and why it's important in this particular episode to vote. So what you see here, PBS Think TV turned this into a cartoon short a couple years ago during the 2016 presidential election. And Michelle and I could not be more proud that this happened. And they're actually going to relaunch it in the fall for the upcoming presidential election. So we hope that you'll tune in tomorrow with your kiddos at 10 o'clock on the Spirit of America Facebook page, Facebook Live, and you'll learn about why it's important to vote, how it works. America's running for student council, and her father makes the correlation between the two. So I do hope you'll take some time to tune in and check that out. And you know what I say, even adults? If you really haven't been admitting to folks that you're not quite sure what the Electoral College is, guarantee you'll learn something from this. We'll see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We are near the end of this last broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, and I owe some humongous, big fat thank yous. We've had several interviews. I think they've gotten better technologically over the weeks. I know we started out with me and a selfie stick, and it was reversed, and I was printing out stories. Boy, have we come a long way on this homemade show. First and foremost, I want to thank Coach Adrienne Wilson, who is an Olympic athlete. She is a coach for Team US. Your inspiration, ma'am, has just been phenomenal. Thank you for lending your insight into how we start taking care of ourselves during this COVID-19 process. Also want to thank Dr. Tim Bills from Fox Hollow Animal Hospital, who also contributed to Animal Planet's Hanging with the Hendersons. Really appreciate your insight, taking care of our fur babies while we're here at COVID-19. Thank you to country music superstar Larry Stewart from Restless Heart for lifting our spirits and lending your song. Larry, by the way, and Restless Heart are involved in virtual concert tonight and this weekend. Make sure you check out Larry's page because he is still offering 5 o'clock on Fridays. Nice concerts for everybody. So thank you, Larry, so much for lending your time and your talent. Lisa Grayson, hairstylist extraordinaire, thank you. When we were all having a moment, when we were starting to discover roots and our hair was really long, great insight, great tips. Love you for spending some time with us. I also want to thank Jackie K. Cooper, our Hollywood movie critic, who lifted our spirits, gave us some really good dish, by the way, on upcoming movies. That was good stuff. And I hope that we'll be able to reach out to you again in the future, maybe even if it's just to tape an interview and play it on Neighborhood News. You, sir, are the best. Also want to thank our friend Donato in Italy for sharing his insight on how things were getting back to normal, so to speak, on the other side of the world. You're always uplifting, and you are a wonderful Catholic friend who I am so happy that we met by the grace of God in St. Peter's Square. Want to thank one of my hero couples, the Lammers, Alicia and Matt Lammers, for being on the show. You have uplifted our spirits, and your story of perseverance continues to change lives. So thanks for what you do. Both of you are heroes in my book. And last but not least, the young lady that we talked with a few days ago, Miss Twin Rivers, Texas, Maddie Frankies, thank you for being with us and chatting and giving everybody some positive direction and sharing how you're going forward to prepare all of the things in your future. But I think you've given folks something to think about and how you handle when life hands you lemons. You do more than make lemonade. You own that lemonade, and that's what you're doing. So thank you for sharing that with us, Maddie. We really, really wish you the best of luck at Miss Texas and Miss America. We are at the praise and prayer portion of the program, folks, and we've had so much prayer go up, And we just want to close by asking God to continue to watch over all of our healthcare workers and our frontline workers. And how about all of us that are trying to find work again, going back to work? Please keep us safe. Help us to figure out how to live this new normal. And we want to praise you, Lord, for seeing us through this. This has been some really difficult stuff, but I think we're making it. I think it's going to be okay. And I think we're doing this together. Thanks to things like bigger neighborhoods. Don't you feel like our neighborhood has grown worldwide? I know I do. And I couldn't be happier to have made the connections that we've made over the last 8 weeks. So if you've been following me on Facebook, I wrote a little, I call it a kiss off to Corona. I read it to Bob the other night and he laughed and he said, "Oh, babe, you've got too much time on your hands." Yes, I do. I need a job. But this is something I was thinking of all of you as I was writing this, since we are starting to open things back up and get back to normal a little bit here. So I give you my kiss off to Corona. Here we go. Dear Corona, not sure what you thought you would gain from this, infecting our world and stealing our bliss. You caused great harm and a huge fuss. Nothing will heal those you took from us. Many were infected, lives changed forever. Quarantine meant families couldn't be together. You thought you could break us, bring us to our knees. Ripping through our economy, you did that with ease. But here's what else happened, unbeknownst to you. We found each other and our neighborhood grew. Support for each other came quickly and strong. If you thought we'd be silent, well, you would be wrong. As you infected our earth, you infected our hearts. With concern for fellow man, that's where it all starts. Healthcare, public safety, and essential too, are the workers who became our superglue. Mother Earth found happiness with our shelter in place. Pollution reduced, and we had a clean face. Families found use for that kitchen table. This story gets better. No, it's not a fable. We learned how to cope by watching each other, connecting on pages like sisters and brothers. We spread kindness like a virus that you'll never cure. It's a way of life now, of this we are sure. Couldn't go to church, work, or school, but the internet made these things extra cool. No, we didn't give up, so just lose that persona. You are dismissed, COVID-19 Corona. You're welcome. I want to also give a huge thank you to the Neighborhood News crew. My dear friend down in Americus, Georgia, Nicole. My dear friend Julie up in Northern Virginia. My dear friend Lisa out in Massachusetts. And this dear man behind the camera, Colonel Bob. He's starting to ramp things up with work, going to start traveling again. So, this whole work in the camera thing would be really hard by myself. So thank you, love, for humoring me and being part of the neighborhood and making this all flow. And for the very last time, this has been a Zach and Libby production. For the last time, I don't even want to have the last word here. I want the last words to be some words that we heard early on in the show. I am going to leave you once again because I don't know about you. I walk around the house singing Three Little Birds, Bob Marley's Three Little Birds, but in the style of Ryland Clark, because it's so sweet, it's so honest, and it's so true. So I'm going to let Ryland have the last word here, because I think what he has to say is the most important.